The latest national report from property data collector Adam shows foreclosures rising for the 8th straight month. Florida with the highest foreclosure rate in the country, and Tampa the highest in the state. Well, the numbers are stark. Tampa now leads all major metro areas in the country for foreclosure filings, with 1 out of every 1,373 homes receiving a notice in October.
Tonight, a troubling new milestone for Florida's housing market. Tampa is now top of the list when it comes to foreclosures in the United States.
New data shows more local homeowners are slipping into financial distress as costs climb and home values level off or even fall.
It's not systemic. It's probably taking us a little bit back to baseline because things have been so good for so long. Eventually there's going to need to be a pullback.
In 2022, a middle-class family in a suburb outside Tampa bought their first home for $420,000 with an FHA loan. They put 3.5% down, $14,700. Their combined household income was $85,000. Everyone told them it was the smart move. Lock in a home before prices go even higher. 3 years later, that home is worth $370,000. They owe $405,000. Their insurance tripled.
Warning sign for real estate in our region. Contracts are being canceled. A recent Redfin study shows 20% of pending Tampa Bay home sales deals collapsed in September. Those canceled sales and foreclosures were the highest in the U.S.
High foreclosure rates are on the rise across the country, particularly here in Florida. According to real estate experts, the Sunshine State leads the U.S. Lenders in Florida started the foreclosure process on 1 in every 1,800 homes last month. And Tampa has seen the highest rate in the country.
Their property taxes jumped 57%. They burned through their savings covering the gap. Last month, they missed their first mortgage payment. Next month, the clock starts. This isn't a story from 2008. This is happening right now in the suburbs of Tampa, Austin, Phoenix, Jacksonville, Dallas, Orlando, and dozens of other cities across America. And the New York Fed just confirmed it. Mortgage delinquency is surging fastest, not in cities, not in rural areas, but in middle-income suburban zip codes, where 90-plus day delinquency rates have climbed steadily since 2021. The foreclosure wave has hit the suburbs, and the middle class is getting destroyed.
It could be just the influx of people that we had moving here to Florida, buying up all the inventory during the COVID years, and then most people leaving back to go back to their states, or any factors can play to the rise. But again, it always depends on the person's scenario, whether it could have been their loss of employment or a passing in a family, or whoever was a co-borrower is just not there anymore. So there could be just so many factors that could be playing into this number now.
Florida leads the country when it comes to the worst foreclosure rate in the United States. It's 1 in every 1,829 units. And there are several Florida cities with the worst foreclosure rates, and unfortunately Orlando comes in at number 3.
Today we're breaking down exactly how this happened, where it's concentrated, and why the suburban middle class is uniquely vulnerable in 2026. Section 2 covers the FHA time bomb that's about to detonate in suburban neighborhoods across the Sun Belt. Stay for it. If you live in the suburbs anywhere in America, subscribe and hit the bell. We break down this data every single week while it's still actionable. Let's get into it. First, why suburbs? Why now? Because this isn't where the crisis was supposed to hit. When people think of foreclosures, they think of inner cities, low-income neighborhoods, the kind of zip codes that got destroyed in 2008 by subprime lending. But 2026 is different. The crisis this time is hitting the exact neighborhoods that were supposed to be safe. The master-planned communities, the subdivisions with HOAs and community pools, the suburbs where middle-class families moved during COVID, chasing space, affordability, and remote work freedom.
As more homeowners in the U.S. struggle to keep up with mortgage payments and maintenance costs, new data shows the number of property foreclosures is steadily rising. According to property data from Adam, foreclosure filings rose for 6 months straight, year over year. And as of August, the number of foreclosures, that was up 18% from the same time last year. Those numbers put the U.S. on track to surpass the roughly 322,000 total properties that went into foreclosure last year.
Here's why they're the ones getting crushed. The New York Fed's research is unambiguous. While borrowers in the lowest income zip codes have seen 90-plus day delinquency rates surge from 0.5% to nearly 3.0% since 2021, middle-income zip codes show intermediate trends with delinquency rates rising, but not as precipitously. Higher-income borrowers remain largely insulated. The pain is concentrated in the bottom 60%, and the suburban middle class sits right in the kill zone. Counties with rising unemployment saw delinquencies worsen by 0.6 percentage points versus just 0.2 points in stable employment counties. The suburban communities most vulnerable are the ones where the local economy depends on construction, retail, hospitality, and government jobs. Exactly the sectors getting hit by tariffs, spending cuts, and the broader consumer slowdown. And here's the structural reason suburbs are getting hammered.
Inflation continues to stick around, holding steady at 3.8% and keeping mortgage rates high. But it's not just the Fed that's slowing things down. Experts say we're now living in what's called a stay-put economy.
This is where the overbuilding happened. Builders didn't overbuild downtown. They overbuilt in the suburbs. Texas permitted 169,000 single-family homes for 2026. Overwhelmingly in suburban corridors. Arizona, Florida, and Colorado are all above pre-pandemic inventory levels, and that excess inventory is sitting in the suburbs where builders went wild during the boom. Liberty Hill, Prosper, Maricopa, Cape Coral, Riverview, these are suburban communities, and they're the epicenters of the correction.
Inflation spikes mortgage rates to actually just hit their highest level since March. The average rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage now 6.6%. That is up from just below 6% at the end of February before the start of the Iran war. And that translates to an extra $126 a month on a payment for a $400,000 home loan. These higher borrowing costs for everything from mortgages to credit cards are a key reason why American households are now in more debt than ever before.
Folks, if you know a suburban family that bought during the boom, share this video with them. This is the data that could change their financial future. And if you're not subscribed, hit the bell now. Now, Section 2, the FHA time bomb, because this is the mechanism that's turning suburban distress into suburban foreclosures.
Well, Brian, the mortgage delinquency rate, has been really low for nearly a decade. And aside from a very brief jump at the start of the pandemic before those government forbearance programs, it's now sitting at just 3.98% overall, that according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. Compare that to just over 10% back in 2010 during the subprime crisis. The mortgage landscape, I'm saying, is quite healthy, with one major red flag. FHA loans, their delinquency rate, while always higher, has been rising recently, now hitting 11.3%, and that is the highest since 2013.
FHA delinquency hit 11.52% in Q4 2025, the highest since mid-2021. FHA borrowers are more than 5 times as likely to be behind on payments as conventional borrowers. And here's what connects FHA directly to the suburbs. FHA loans are the primary vehicle for middle-class, first-time buyers purchasing in suburban communities. They require just 3.5% down. They're designed for households earning $60,000 to $100,000.
All of the stresses in life we're seeing right now, a little bit of softening in the job market. We're seeing big jumps in insurance premiums as a result of all of the hazards out there, whether they be wildfires, hurricanes, what have you. All of that leading to some stress.
FHA attracts first-time buyers with lower incomes and credit scores. The FHA down payment requirement is just 3.5%, and borrowers can carry higher debt compared to their income, that's so-called DTI. And that's because FHA borrowers have to pay mortgage insurance. But FHA recently lowered that insurance premium, which brought in more borrowers. That resulted in higher credit levels of the entire program, but that debt to income is still very high, and that's because of inflation and affordability, high home prices.
The suburban middle class. The loan cohorts originated in 2022 and 2023, when prices were at their pandemic peak and rates were climbing, are now showing the worst performance. These are the families who bought $400,000 to $500,000 suburban homes with $14,000 to $17,500 down. The market dropped 5 to 25% depending on the city. Their equity evaporated, and now their cure rates, the odds of getting current again after falling behind, have collapsed by 70% among FHA borrowers since Q3 2025. As of late February 2026, 878,000 loans were severely delinquent or in foreclosure, a 25% increase in just 4 months. And the FHA's COVID-era loss mitigation programs are sunsetting in 2026, removing the safety net for 1.2 million borrowers still in modified payment plans. When forbearance ends and modifications tighten, the borrowers who were barely hanging on become the borrowers who fall into foreclosure.
Home prices soared across Tampa Bay. Some families who bought their homes back then are now facing a harsh reality.
They would have to sell at essentially the same price they bought for because there has been a declining market. So they would need to bring roughly $10,000 to the closing table in order to avoid a short sale.
Florida's housing market. Tampa is now top of the list when it comes to foreclosures in the United States.
New data shows more local homeowners are slipping into financial distress as costs climb and home values level off or even fall.
Analysts project that a significant portion of the 11.52% FHA delinquency pool will convert to foreclosure filings in Q3 and Q4 2026. And the timing couldn't be worse. In Q1 2026, foreclosure filings hit 118,727, up 26% from a year ago. Bank repossessions surged 45% year over year to 14,020. Texas led the nation with 3,390 foreclosure starts in February alone. The average foreclosure now takes 577 days to complete, down 14% from a year ago, the 6th consecutive quarterly decline in processing time. Courts are moving faster, the pipeline is accelerating, and the properties entering that pipeline are disproportionately in suburban zip codes where FHA loans are concentrated. Now let's map where this is hitting hardest, because the suburban foreclosure wave has a very specific geography. Indiana has the worst foreclosure rate in the country, 1 in every 739 housing units. South Carolina is second at 1 in every 743. Florida is third at 1 in every 750.
It's really all prices and all costs associated with housing, whether it's HOA, whether it's interest on mortgage payments, whether it's interest payments. All of those costs are going up.
You refinance now into a 20-year and you drop your rate down, and 20 years running somewhere in the mid-5s, low 5s, somewhere around there. Potentially, you now could potentially have the same payment you have and shave 10 years off your mortgage just by doing that.
But within these states, the foreclosures aren't evenly distributed. They're clustered in the suburban rings. Lakeland, Florida, 10.8% of all mortgages underwater. Lakeland is a suburban corridor between Tampa and Orlando. Cape Coral, 10.1% underwater, with 27% of recent FHA loans negative. Cape Coral is suburban southwest Florida. Austin Suburbs, 9.2% underwater, with 25% of 2022 vintage FHA loans negative. Round Rock, Cedar Park, Kyle, Pflugerville. These are suburban communities. San Antonio Suburbs at 8.8%. Jacksonville Suburbs at 6.3%. Colorado Springs at 5.6%, Tampa Suburbs at 5.4%. Every single one of these is a suburban market, not urban, not rural, suburban. The places where middle-class families moved during COVID to buy their first home. And the carrying cost explosion is what's pushing these families over the edge. Property taxes surged 45 to 65% since 2019 in suburban metros like Tampa, Dallas, Jacksonville, Orlando, and Denver. Insurance premiums in Florida run 181% above the national average. A family making $85,000 that stretched to buy a $420,000 home with an FHA loan is now paying a mortgage, plus $6,000 in insurance, plus $8,000 in property taxes, plus HOA fees, and their total housing cost eats 45 to 50% of gross income. One car repair, one medical bill, one reduced hours paycheck. That's all it takes. Consumer confidence hit a 48-year low at 49.8. Tariffs are adding $2,500 annually to the average household's cost of living. Vehicle repossessions are surging to Great Recession levels.
We're getting those jobs reports, and fewer jobs are being added than what was initially predicted. And there are fears that we're on the brink of another recession. Do you think that's possible, and how soon could we see that?
So to be honest with you, I actually don't see that on the horizon. There are certainly risks. There's never an absence of risk. For instance, the AI infrastructure build out, freeze or get derailed in some way, we will probably go into a recession because that's been carrying the economy now for more than a year.
Credit card delinquency is elevated. Student loan payments resumed after a 5-year pause. The suburban middle-class family isn't just being squeezed by housing. They're being squeezed from every direction. Housing is just where the squeeze breaks through first, because the mortgage is the biggest bill and the hardest to adjust. And here's what makes this a cascade, not just a cluster. When foreclosures hit a suburban neighborhood, every home within a half-mile radius loses value. Distressed sales become the comps. Those comps push neighbors closer to the underwater line. The neighbors who were at 5% equity are now at 0. The ones at 0 are now negative. And the cycle repeats. In a suburban subdivision where every home looks the same, one foreclosure sale at $340,000 reprices the entire block that was valued at $400,000. So what do? If you're a suburban homeowner with an FHA loan originated between 2022 and 2024, check your equity today, not your Zestimate from last year. Your actual equity right now, minus 8 to 10% for selling costs. If you're underwater or within 5%, you need a plan. Contact your servicer before you miss a payment. Once you enter the foreclosure pipeline, the average process now takes 577 days, but options shrink dramatically from day one. If you're current, but the carrying costs are crushing you, explore every option. Loan modification, rate recast, refinance if rates dip, or a planned sale while you still have equity. Talk to a HUD-approved housing counselor. It's free. If you're a homeowner in a suburban neighborhood where foreclosures are rising, monitor your local filings. FHA-heavy zip codes, where FHA loans represent 20% or more of mortgages, are the early indicators of foreclosure clustering. If your neighborhood is in that zone, every foreclosure is a comp that affects your value. If you're a buyer, the suburban foreclosure wave is creating opportunities, but approach them with data, not emotion. HUD homes from FHA foreclosures typically sell at 10 to 20% below market value, but factor in insurance, taxes, and potential repairs before you assume it's a deal. Here's the bottom line. The 2026 foreclosure wave isn't hitting Wall Street. It isn't hitting the wealthy. It's hitting the suburban middle class, the families who did exactly what they were told to do. They saved a down payment, they bought a home, they followed the playbook, and the playbook failed them because the market turned, the costs exploded, and nobody warned them that a 3.5% down payment on a $420,000 home in a declining market is a financial time bomb. 118,727 foreclosure filings in Q1, up 26%, bank repossessions up 45%. FHA delinquency at 11.52%. Cure rates collapsed 70%. 878,000 loans severely delinquent. And the pandemic-era safety net being dismantled. The wave is here, and it's in the suburbs. Subscribe, hit the bell, and drop a comment. Are you seeing foreclosure signs in your suburban neighborhood? Are homes sitting empty? Are neighbors walking away? Those ground-level reports from the suburbs are the most valuable data points we get. See you in the next one.